We've lost a lot of generational skilled trades knowledge. This is actually becoming a matter of national security. For every baby boomer that retires, we need about 4 that are coming into the industry right now. So we can't have a foundry in China producing the transmission housing for our Abrams tank. A lot of our customers are saying, hey, we don't have the supply base to produce this potential demand. We're struggling. Even our foundries that we have had, a lot of them have been closing. We're losing about 15 foundries per year, even of the few that we have left.
You are watching this from the comfort of your probably air-conditioned car or your home. What if you were working in an area where what you were doing was 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit? What if on a good day it was 100 degrees in the place that you're working, could get up to 130? And then not only would you be working in that extreme heat, but you're doing things of massive importance. And while you're in there trying to survive that heat, you developed sort of a servant's heart for the industry that you're working in, because it's so important and foundational to the inner workings of our country and the inner workings of all of the machines that you see. What if that was you? Well, that's who our guests are today. My guests, I met them at an event. They received Legacy Maker of the Year award. They're unbelievable Christians. My wife and I just accidentally, we say there's no accidents in life, but my wife and I were sat next to them during this award ceremony, and it was sort of a destiny moment where we have made some incredible friends. I can't wait for you to meet them and have a conversation. So let's just go ahead and bring them on in here. Hello, this is Ali.
Hi.
Hi, Ali and Kory.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Yeah,
Good to see
changing the
ya.
world, baby, changing the world. Ali and Kory Anderson, and they have multiple companies. They've got it's all under the Anderson brands. They've got all kinds of stuff that they're going to tell us about. Why don't you give us a brief history of how you got started, Kory?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I started out as a young boy with a dream to build the world's largest steam tractor, and it's kind of a unique dream. And at 9 years old, that became my passion. And so I went on this journey of surrounding myself with masters of the trades, learning and teaching myself a lot of the skilled trades. Went to college for engineering. After 3 years, dropped out of college because I was learning a lot more from the old timers that were teaching me the trades and the shops than I was really getting out of the university. So dropped out, started my own business in my garage of a town of 90 people. And that was 20 years ago. And that was Anderson Industries. And ever since, we have acquired additional manufacturing operations. And in 2014, really got into the foundry industry. One, to be able to cast the parts for this 150 case road locomotive that was my dream to build. There's over 200 unique castings we had to make to build that tractor from scratch. And so I had to learn the foundry industry and had to have the capacity to make castings. And so in 2014, a local foundry that was a customer of mine, they went up for sale and I bought that foundry. And so since 2014, we've been in the foundry industry. And, with my wife, Allie, coming on board, her and I working together, she has a brilliant mind for public relations and marketing and branding. And, we have just taken this from, kind of me being passionate about the trades to just an incredible mission that we're on this journey together for not only preserving and strengthening American manufacturing through our foundry operations and acquiring and trying to continue to build additional and grow foundry operations, but through our passion for preserving the skilled trades in this country and inspiring young people into the trades and creating opportunities for people who are, needing a path to get into the trades because there's just a massive opportunity. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we're up to. So it's really exciting to be here and talk with you about all this.
I love that. Well, we share something in common, and that is having beautiful wives that make us look way better. And Allie, my wife, absolutely adores you. Obviously, I do too. But tell us how you got pulled into this, and what your role has been, and what you love about it as well.
this was a God moment as well. So I grew up going to steam threshing shows my whole life. I come from family of farmers, and we actually met Kory and I at a steam threshing show in back in 2019. He was debuting this 150K steam engine, and it was just it was absolutely incredible. My family and I, we work visitor camping, and so as we're checking in, everyone's like, "Where's this 150 case? We got to go see it." And so my mom and I are like, well, I guess we gotta go see this 150 case, and right when she was taking my picture, for Instagram, I see this guy walk in front of me, and I'm like, "He must be a tourist because he does." I mean, there's not really, like, that many attractive, hot guys in the ski community, so I was like, "Aw,
Uh,
I guess I'm gonna go up to him." And of course, my line is, "Hey, so do you know who owns this thing?" Meanwhile, he built it, so that was embarrassing. I turned bright red, but then that whole weekend, it was my mission to figure out who he was and if he was available, and the rest is history. So, we really hit it off, and it's been a lot of fun ever since getting involved in this new world of entrepreneurship and small business and American manufacturing. Prior to meeting Kory, I was a corporate consultant, so a very massive pivot, but it's been really, really cool to see how those skills are transferable into the preservation of American history and manufacturing.
I love that. So, Kory didn't tell us that he got into this area, this specified area to pick up women, but
Well, Jason, the reality is she thought my tractor was sexy. That's how
that's
we
it.
met.
That's it. Hey, here's what I tell her. I mean, when I tell you how I attracted Emily, you'll any excuse will do. That's what I say, you know? Yeah, that's fantastic. So talk a little bit about, yeah, because when we talk about this, it's interesting as I hear you and the more I talk to you guys and the more that I learn, we look at business as a whole. It doesn't matter what the product and or service is, but it is. I tell people all the time, you got to look at your business like it's a machine. Right?
Mhm.
We look at it sometimes like it's an extension of ourselves, or, the greatest term that I ever heard from one of my mentors was, you're not your business. I am not my business is not me, which is a very difficult thing to separate. And if you look at it that way, then what you're really passionate about is the outcome, right? The impact that you have. No, number one, taking care of your family, doing something that you love and that you have a skill set at, but then being able to help the outside world. And in order to do that, you have to look at your business much like you look at the things that you make. All of those, however many hundreds of pieces that that you had to build, they have to work perfectly with each other. Right, and I can't think of a better analogy for small businesses is to say, you gotta know all the pieces, right? You have to be an architect. In your instance, you're an architect. My nickname is the architect on the business side because you have to architect how a successful business works, and I can't think of a better analogy for that. And then, in terms of the excellence, because that's the only people that I allow on this show, are people that are rooted in excellence. You've been on the cover of the 2 magazines. Ali, remind me what the name Casting Source
Casting
and
sorts and modern
yeah,
casting.
and
Mhm.
Modern Casting. So you got yourself a cover model there too, Ali,
Yeah.
evidently. They must think he's good looking too. But but I know that takes, a high level of excellence, and then on top of that, you guys got voted by the US Chamber of Commerce as one of the top 100 small businesses. So talk to me not just about the product, and I'll start with you, Ali. Talk to me about the business side and what you have learned in this journey.
Oh, I have learned so much in this journey. I came in wanting to help with the marketing side, and I've now learned, just like you were saying, how much you have to know about the entirety of the business. You have to know that end-to-end process, and until you really understand it, you can't scale your business because you have to understand too, like who are the handoffs in your business? What can you possibly streamline? Where's waste currently at? Where could we do a better job for our customer experience, our employee experience? There's so much of just really honing in on what's happening internal to the business before you start, growing and promoting your product lines and capabilities. So it's been an incredible journey, and we're really excited for the next chapter.
Love that. How about you, Kory? What surprised you the most about going from what you love to do and then turning it into a full-fledged business?
I would say just realizing the importance of developing processes and training and, making sure that things are sustainable long term because I've acquired a number of companies and I've also acquired companies where I bought those companies because they had, very veteran, very experienced, very talented people. And so we've actually managed a couple of our companies through a generational transition. And that is one of the things that, and especially we see this, Jason, a lot in the foundry industry because the foundry industry is highly technical. It's very highly skilled work and it isn't something that's easily automatable. There's not a lot of robotics and automation. And so it does require high skill. And so I mean, a lot of the foundries today in this country are closing the ones that are left just because they it's really a challenge to manage this generational transition. And so, we see Ali and I are working hard on, making sure we have robust SOPs and processes and everything is really well documented and then we can actually train, next generations and younger people into this skilled work because the success of the company ultimately relies on the success and the ability of the team that we have, and, making that transition is really important.
Yeah, I love that. And what is the just so people can understand it, because until I met you and had these conversations, I always knew and understood that manufacturing is important, obviously, to the foundations of America and what we stand for. But tell us what your biggest fear is if people don't realize that this is an industry that we've got to support, and not only support but build and grow with the next generation. What are we risking?
Right. Well, I mean, if we take a step back into the 1980s, this whole deindustrialization movement of the country began, and it was, the whole concept was, let's have other countries do our hard manufacturing work and let's build our society to be more a service society. And then, obviously software and technology developed and things happened over the last 40 years since 1980s that created a lot of demand and opportunity for people going in to be programmers and software engineers and all of that. But the situation is where we are today. We basically took 40 years of people and told them, don't go into the trades, go be a software programmer or a coder, or go to get a 4-year degree and take one of these jobs that are service industry more related. And now we have a situation where we've lost a lot of generational skilled trades knowledge, and the baby boomer generation is really the last generation we have that's in the skilled trades. So we don't have, for every baby boomer that retires, we need about 4 that are coming into the industry right now. And so that's an issue. Plus, with the whole deindustrialization, we lost a lot of our manufacturing capacity. We've lost in this country since 1950 almost 90% of our our foundry capacity, right? So we have less than 400 iron foundries in the United States compared to, you know, 15-20,000 in China. And so the whole concept was deindustrialization. A lot of this work moved overseas into Asia, Mexico, and other countries, and that's where all of our manufacturing is done. And now the situation, and I have this conversation with a lot of our customers right now, and some of our customers are key defense suppliers, making all of the components, as far as like transmissions and key components for Abrams tanks, for, all the military equipment. And one thing with defense is that stuff has to be all produced domestically. So we can't, have a foundry in China producing the transmission housing for our Abrams tank, right?
Right.
Because it's a bit of a conflict of interest if we have trouble there, right?
Yeah, yeah. Can you please make all of our weapons that we're gonna use to defend ourselves against you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, and so this is actually becoming a matter of national security because, a lot of our customers are saying, "Hey, we don't have the supply base to produce this potential demand. We're struggling. Even our foundries that we have had, a lot of them have been closing. We're losing about 15 foundries per year, even of the few that we have left." And a lot of that is just lack of succession planning, a lack of reinvestment to continue operations. And I mean, a lot of it's also influenced by our three-letter agencies, between the EPA and stuff like that, that are just we're coming down extremely hard on domestic production, but we kind of turn a blind eye to whatever happens in China that doesn't affect us, right?
Right.
And as far as child labor laws, environmental stuff. So that's kind of the situation where we're kind of, it as an industry where we've been shrinking for a long time. We don't have a pipeline of young people coming into the trades, and we're fighting against essentially our own support networks to continue to operate. So
Yeah. It's always interesting to me how much how do I say it? How much stupider our government gets year after year after year. That to just think about the very foundation, like the protection of our borders. Like the government is only supposed to be there for a couple of things, and that happens to be one of the bigger ones. And yet we're gonna subsidize all this NGO stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna go on a political rant here, but it is, I have this show, and I fall in love with people like you guys because I don't believe America's best days are behind us. I think they're still in front of us. And it's because not only do you see the problem, but then both of you have stepped into to say, okay, how do we solve that problem with no support? Right. That's kind of
Right.
why I'm building the owner syndicate, is so that the small business community, $17 trillion of our economy, 60% of our hiring, 90% of the non-governmental jobs, actually has a voice, which we don't right now because nobody
Yep.
stepped up in that bigger environment. That's why I started. I don't want to. Right? Probably like you didn't want to start Iron Horse, and probably like, I mean, Ali, you're a fantastic. We're gonna get into your books here in a minute, but you probably wouldn't have done that had.
Oh,
But we're being called, right? Not only I think by Christ to step up in this day and age, right? And but also by our country to stand up and do what we possibly can before it just gets all taken away, before we see the fall of the empire in our generation, right? So
Yep.
I get a little fired up about how dumb these people are, and how short-sighted they are, and how greedy they are, you know?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, just on that note, Jason, something people don't realize, Corey didn't mention, OSHA is another really big one, right? And just safety and health standards. I mean, if a guy isn't wearing one earplug, maximum fine is $16,500 for that, and that just wipes out a small business. You can enforce policies and standards, but you can't make somebody wear an earplug, right? And so it's all kind of silly behind the scenes, and it's just stuff we're constantly going to battle for,
Yeah, and like Corey said, we're competing against people who use kids for
right?
labor. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Right.
and they don't pay them, by the way. Right? They have
Yeah.
these
Right.
suicide nets around these factories because people are they're like, I'd rather kill myself than to work in this factory. And we're
Mhm.
Yep.
competing against that. Right? Not that
Yep.
Mhm.
we should use kids in our country, but maybe a couple of generations could use a little bit of hard work, but but not
Yeah.
that we're saying but get off our backs about stupid stuff. Like, just let us compete. And, you guys are
Keep
getting
saying
me all
made in
fired up here.
America, right? Like,
May
that's the end goal is we wanna keep saying made in America.
That's it. That's 100%, and that's for security's sake, that's for, future generations' sake, it's for the opportunity. The 3 of us that are on this screen wouldn't be where we are if we did not have the opportunity that America gave us. Not I don't know that the 3 of us, I certainly nobody gave us a silver platter and said, "Here's your future in it." We've made our own way, and that, to me, is what needs to be guarded the most, is that opportunity. I love that there's an opportunity for young people to be able to be inspired to get into this kind of work, right? I love that you guys are doing that. And we'll get into I'll come back to you in a second, Kory, on the Iron Warrior Academy. But talk to me a little bit about these books. They're amazing. Thank you for sending them to my wife and I. Billy the Lost Boiler. We've got an activity book here, Junior Iron Warrior. We've got this book here. We're number one. What is this? This is hard. This is hardcover.
Yes, so
That's
that the activity book in it as
oh,
well.
oh, okay. So you put them all together in there. Number
That's right.
one, where can they find the book if a parent, for instance, wants to get these for their kids? Where do they find the book?
It's available on Amazon, Amazon.com, just search Billy the Lost Boiler. We also have a website, billytheboiler.com, if you are interested in understanding a little bit more about what the activity book features, some testimonials, definitely go check it out. I wrote this book. First off, it's inspired by a true story, which very few children's books are these days. And it's all about Kory, the original Iron Warrior, who finds Billy the Boiler in a field. And throughout the story, he helps Billy realize that he has a very profound purpose in this world, and it is to be the heart of the world's biggest steam engine. And so not only that, it also is faith-based as well. There's every book, and there will be hopefully some sequels, is anchored in a Bible verse, and then in the back, it actually tells the real story and the inspiration for the book itself.
Wow, that's cool. Now I'm gonna have to tell Emily, you haven't written a book about me yet. And
Sorry, Emily.
I mean, do you really love me unless you've written a book about me? I don't know. I don't know.
Next month, hi, Emily. Well,
That's right. I don't know what it would be called, but she would have fun with that. So Kory, tell me a little bit about the Iron Warrior Academy and what your vision is there.
Absolutely. So, coming back to the mass intelligence of our government that we were discussing, right? One
With
of the
the
things that
M
is
not there, take the M away.
right. One of the things that has happened is, we've also taken not only have we taken the skilled trades out of the educational system, but we've also removed a lot of the discipline, right? And so this is one thing that we just continuously see firsthand, and we've seen it just get exponentially worse is, the younger generations coming out of high school, lacking just with a greater lack of discipline, integrity, accountability, and all of these things. And so that was kind of one of the initial concepts and purposes for starting the Iron Warrior Academy is we, you know, as a company, we're bringing in some of these people that for the first time have been held accountable in their life and, are actually being disciplined when they're making a mistake or held at least accountable to that and having to show integrity and having to, take responsibility for their actions. And so, we started this vision for the Iron Warrior Academy to help create stronger characters in our younger generations and equip them for the work in the trades because the trades work is, it's physical, it's in a lot of trades it's dangerous, and so that you have to take responsibility, you have to take pride in your work. And the thing that I love about the trade so much and why we're passionate about making good tradesmen through our Iron Warrior program, like building Iron Warriors, is that the opportunities are endless. Coming back to what you were saying about how we all got started, we wouldn't have gotten started if we weren't in a capitalistic American culture, right? That America's the country where you always have the opportunity to work harder and always get rewarded for that work. And if so that's what I love about the trades is you could take any person who becomes very good in the skilled trades as long as they had that dream or that passion, they could start their own business. It's easy. It's not complicated for a person who is an expert plumber, electrician, a contractor, a welder, to say, hey, I want to go out on my own and start my company. That's essentially how every skilled trades business started. Every company that exists in the trades today started with somebody who had a passion to master their craft, and then wanted to serve customers at a greater level, and said, I need more than my own two hands, so I need to start a company and serve at a greater level. And it's one industry where that opportunity and the capitalism is just fully, it's a full wide open door. And essentially we as tradespeople are our only limitation to where we can take it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The idea, the whole premise behind capitalism is supply and demand, right? And these, if we could let these kids know, I mean, I'm watching it all around. Like I got my start in legitimate business because you guys know a little of my background, but I started doing what I knew. My adopted father was a drug dealer. I was delivering drugs at 12, beating people up that weren't paying their drug bill at 16, and when I made that switch, thank God, God coming into my life and through a near death experience going, my kids are gonna grow up and be just like me, and is this the life that I want for them? And I went into, I was hand peeling logs for building cabins. That was my very first job, legitimate job, right? And then I was,
Wow.
digging a sump at the bottom of a mine 3 stories down, and it was down there where I had the epiphany. I'm like, I'm down there and, 6.50 an hour the first time, $8.50 an hour, but I'm digging the sump out in a mine, no light, right? And I'm thinking to myself, people used to be afraid of me. It was a big switch. Now nobody feared me and nobody knew where I was, and I might die in the bottom of a mine. But it was that trigger, that idea that set me. I got to go learn a trade because I didn't ever graduate from high school, right? So I need to go learn a trade, and that's what turned my life around in the beginning, was to learn. I learned how to do floor covering, carpet, tile, hardwood. That was the beginning twist for me. And to your point, to your very good point, and I want people to hear this, that took discipline. That took educating myself. That it gave me a vision of, it wasn't that I was going to become a multimillionaire from that, but it was, oh, I could take care of my family, right? Oh, I could put some money away for retirement. Oh, I'm learning. Oh, now I want to read books. Oh, now I want to listen to great speakers. Now, it's just this pull, and I believe that the heart that God put inside of us is desirous of being challenged, of being disciplined, so that we can pull our best foot forward. And I love that that's what you guys are setting up here. And more people need to hear this, supply and demand. Everybody trying to get into the marketing world, stop it, right? It's just completely and totally saturated. Oh, well, Jason, I don't want to be in 2,700 degrees sounds a little warm to me. All right, be a baby, right? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But if you're looking for an opportunity, the trades is where it's at right now. Multiples are going up. I know you guys, and one of the things that we connected on early was you guys are now in acquisition mode, right? You not only want to bring people up, but you also want to save these foundries, and you guys want to be growing your legacy on your way to your exit, whatever that looks like, right? So talk to us a little bit about in the acquisition side. What are you guys looking for? I got a big audience, and they love helping. So what are you guys looking for these days?
Yeah, so currently we have Dakota Foundry, which is an iron foundry. We specialize mostly in lower volume, complex, and big casting. So we can pour up to a 5,000 pound casting at Dakota. And so that's a pretty niche and specific customer base, demographic, and capacity. Then we just recently acquired Muncie Castings in Muncie, Indiana, which is an aluminum foundry. And there we make aluminum castings for engine blocks. It's all automotive and racing aftermarket. So high performance racing and automotive engine blocks, valve covers, heads, intakes, all that type of stuff. So we've kind of carved out a couple of different demographics we specialize in. And really what we're looking for now is higher volume, more production, and a little bit more automated. So we have both our plants in iron and aluminum, which are lower volume complex castings requiring high skill sets of team members. And so now what we're looking for is a higher production, a higher throughput capacity, which is more automation, more robotics, and automated molding and all that type of stuff. So we're really looking for that level of a higher production, higher volume production, and also, steel's really an alloy that we don't have capacity for. So like steel foundries potentially might be might be something that on our radar to kind of encompass all of the castable alloys in our network of Anderson Foundries. So, but the most important thing, I guess, in our next acquisition is identifying and finding the right team, because as we grow this overall Anderson Foundries brand, we also need to build a team of experts in the industry who, we need a good metallurgy, a good metallurgist and a good foundry engineer and quality manager. And we need to build this higher level team to support all the operations at the plants. So that's the other thing we look for too, Jason, is not only capacity and production team, but we're looking for a higher level of management and leadership to come along with that.
I love that. And one of the things that we talk about, in business, and by the way, this is not it's not a slam on entrepreneurs, because I'm one, right? And what I'm about to say applied to the younger me. And we wouldn't have even gotten started if a couple of these weren't in the mix, right? I say every business owner has a level of arrogance, ignorance, impatience, and the wrong team around them, right? Until you've gotten to your place where you're going to exit. Those are the four components. Now, the arrogance has to appear because we're playing a game that 95% of people fail at. And it is just delusional that we're going to get in, start a business that's going to be, it's just delusional, right?
Right.
We'll get into, I'm going to go to Ali next here in a second, because this is,
I've actually
it's,
said that statement before. That's why I'm laughing so hard.
yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. Well, I'm delusional. I have no problem telling people that I'm delusional, but it's got me a long way.
Yeah.
It's got me a
You just
long way.
validated why she's always telling me I'm delusional. So I appreciate that.
No problem. No problem. At some point, all of those four things need to turn into intelligence, right? This business is, business is a intellectual sport, as they say. And so it's that evolution, that I really love watching. It's something that has to be pulled out of us. It's God challenging us. It's a parable of the talents, right? Which is, I want to take what God gave me and I want to multiply it. And really all he gave me was me, and the ability to overcome my weaknesses. And so I kind of look at it like that kind of a game. We would be remiss without talking a little bit. You think about what you guys do, and you think about, it is just, you know, it's just gut, grit, like hard work, really intelligent work, hard work, 2,700 degrees. Like, I've walked on fire before, and I didn't, and that was a very intense situation. Like, we did it at Tony Robbins' event. I can't imagine 2,700 degrees. That is crazy to me. But on top of that, you think, oh, that's really brute force business. But you guys are layering in, everybody that's watching this is having to deal with the age of AI. And Ali, we talked about this the other day. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you guys are implementing AI in one of the world's oldest skill sets?
absolutely. Yeah, this has been instrumental. And actually, one of our foundries, we're seeking our ISO certification right now, and so there's a lot of SOPs and processes you have to have defined, structures in place, and so this has just been incredible tool for us, just to pop in the technicalities of what we need, and it spits out a beautiful SOP that we can upload to SharePoint and start training our people on within the hour. I mean, back in the old days, you had somebody on your team that just specialized in SOP development. So to be able to just operate at a speed that, we haven't been able to up until some of these tools came to play in this last year or so. It's been a huge, huge advantage for us. Definitely.
Well, talking about getting validated by Ali, she just validated what I've been saying for years, right? AI is nothing more than skilled SOP development. right? It's
Yep.
nothing more than that. And in order to be able to be skilled at SOPs, you have to actually understand with crystal clarity what the outcome is. What
That's
am
right.
I
Yep.
asking, right? What am I asking this tool to produce for me? And yes, okay,
Mhm.
Mhm.
once you get it built, now it'll do it faster. Now it'll do it on repetition. But if business owners don't get involved and understand the core basic, because we got to break this down. None of us are technologists. None of us are Elon Musk, but we've got this new tool that is kind of like when electricity came out. It put a lot of people out of business, but it was a whole new layer. Nobody owned electricity, but on top of it, you could build whatever you wanted to because now electricity was a component of it. Right? You look
Yep.
at the internet, same thing. Nobody owns the internet, but at the end of the day, it gave us a layer to be able to say, okay, what can I do now that takes geography and all those things? Yeah, AI is the next layer that you have to figure out, how do I plug what I do into it so that I can go ahead and build into the next generation, or you're going to go away, right? You're just that is it. Somebody that is doing human work with the assistance of AI is going to overtake you if you're not going to be that person. And so I found
Definitely.
that fascinating, Ali, when we were talking, because again, you wonder how everybody's applying AI, and I'm always fascinated by the way that people figure it out. But at a base level, I just want to leave people with the idea of what I've been saying, and I've said it in every show, so people are kind of maybe getting tired of it. But it's SOP development. Learn
That's
how to
right.
write SOPs, and you will be very successful with AI.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and what's so cool to see is that foundries are one of the oldest crafts of I mean, around, right?
Yeah.
Thousands of years. Foundries have been
Yes.
around for thousands of, and we are taking a new technology, and just overlaying it on top, and it's incredible. So if a foundries are using I argue any other business out there can do it too, and should.
Amen. Amen.
Mhm.
I say if I can use AI, everybody could use it. 'Cause, I was the one going, "This internet thing's not gonna be around for a while," right? I was also the one that said, "Social media, that's stupid," right? I'm not doing that with AI. I know that it's important. So,
Yep.
um, cool.
And I think,
So
Jason,
yeah,
I
go.
I think too, you made a really good point as far as as an owner to really get the full value and benefit out of AI, you have to have the knowledge of the details and inner workings of your company in order to AI is an unbelievable tool, but it only takes what you can input to it, right? And if an owner is too disconnected in the operations, AI isn't gonna help them solve a lot of problems. So that it does require us to be, fairly hands-on, fairly involved into those processes to really use AI as a tool to multiply and really significantly grow our businesses.
Yeah, it's very well said. And people are lazy these days, and they tend to be generalists. And the biggest businesses now and into the future, and really always, have been specialists. And it doesn't mean that just because you pick one vertical to go really, really deep in, that that's going to be the only one. Right? I look at my son. He learned guitar. He's like a master guitarist. And then he's like, okay, now I want to go learn drums. And now I want to learn vocals. And like, you can do that, but you can't do all of them at the same time and expect to produce something really, really great. Right? The reason why Ali and Kory can develop AI inside of their foundries is because they are specialists. And you cannot become a specialist by being a randomist, right? Or being a generalist, or being lazy, or buying the latest guru's bull crap off of the internet that's going to build you a funnel that's going to make you rich, or using AI for marketing that makes you sound like every other idiot that doesn't know what they're doing, but they're using the same AI as everybody else. Do what Alex Hormozy does. Yeah, okay. You're not Alex Hormozy, right? You're not a specialist. So that's my rant for the day. But but I think that what do you see coming in the future? I'll ask both of you separately. Ali, I'll go to you first. What do you see in the future, and what piece of advice would you leave our viewers with?
Future, as it pertains to foundry industry,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
we're
what you're doing.
doing.
Yeah.
Well, I see us really leaning into our Iron Warrior program. So this is our nonprofit where we upskill the next generation. We, in the past, have done immersive on-site programs for our students. They would come out. We actually have a whole home dedicated to our students, so lodging isn't a concern for them, and they get to have that brotherhood as well. Learning how to make their beds before they go to, go to work, and it's really kind of a camp fun environment, and some of the most incredible moments. As a leader I have ever personally had. However, it isn't scalable to the way our country is demanding. We have 3 million open skilled jobs by 2030, and so in order to help solve that deficit, we need to be scaling it. And so Kory and I are working on some pretty aggressive programs to help bring 100,000 skilled tradesmen into the industry by 2030. That's our personal goal. So I see us really leaning into that, and as a added benefit, right, providing a nice pipeline for the foundry industry.
I love that. Kory?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be one of the biggest, I think, labor shifts that has ever happened in history. When we talk about the changes and the speed of AI developing and the impact on how we operate business. And I mean, you just look at, Oracle, what was that, 2 weeks ago, sent out an email at 6 a.m. and laid off tens of thousands of people, right? And why did they lay off those people? One, because they had AI, and AI is replacing a lot of the analysts and a lot of people that are sitting behind a computer. Like, that is what AI is. So a lot of those jobs now are becoming automatable. And the other thing, if you look at this whole thing with Oracle, is they want to reallocate those funds to build more data centers.
Yeah.
And so what does it take? Who builds data centers? Skilled
Electricians.
tradespeople,
Yep.
right?
That's true. Yep.
Electricians, HVAC,
Yep.
concrete, construction. And so there is just, one, we can kind of look at this AI thing as like, oh, it's going to eliminate all these jobs. But the positive is it's gonna create millions of jobs, because we're gonna get to a point where the whole country's electrical infrastructure will have to be redeveloped and then
Yes.
rebuilt,
Yep.
and data centers need to be rebuilt, and everything basically, AI will do a lot of the thinking work for us and a lot of the automatable, technological work, but it's going to put a bigger value on those who have real skills, those who can actually build, those who can take a concept and turn it into something. And so that's what I'm really, even though it's going to be a huge transition, I'm really excited about this. And that's, like Ali mentioned with the Iron Warrior program. I mean, our whole mission now is just shifting to helping facilitate that transition. So software programmers who are losing their jobs, at 25, 30 years old, helping them to find a pivot, right? We'll have them do an assessment. What type of things are you interested? Here's maybe your best path to get into the trades, and here's where the opportunities are going to be. And just trying to help facilitate this whole transition is a big part of our mission. And we're really excited about it, because I've been passionate about the trades my whole life, and my whole life up until this point, the trades have been kind of a shun. You're shunned to be a blue collar worker. And, now it's going to be now we're going to see a whole complete 180 pivot of, the trades workers are going to be the most important to the success and trajectory of this country over the next couple of decades.
Yeah, what a massive shift I've seen in that too. It's like, the just the shift in respect for the different jobs, right? Because now, like, try to find an electrician right now. Try, I dare you. Like, it's difficult, and so now they become valued assets, which is great. They've always been valued assets. And it's interesting, to kind of wrap up on you guys' point that Jeff Bezos is buying manufacturing plants, little, big, small, like, at the end of the day. So anybody watching this, you want to see where not to skate to the puck, as they used to say, Wayne Gretzky used to say, right? I skate to where the puck is going to be. And this industry, what they're telling us on this show is that there's massive opportunity for somebody that wants to move into a different direction of something that has lower supply and higher demand. This is a great opportunity in this space. I've also got a lot of friends that are doing like electrical and HVAC, and we're going to combine and connect. That's the whole point of for me on the owner syndicate side, is that we all come together, the small and mid-sized business community as a whole. I don't care what you do. If you own a small or mid-sized organization and that is supporting you and your family, and you think that that's your retirement plan and all that, we belong together, right? The biggest lie of the enemy is that we have no power. And the world has been telling small and mid-sized business owners for history, throughout history, you have no power just because you have that little ranch. You have no power just because you own that little foundry. You have no power because you own that little janitorial commercial. You have no power. And that's a lie,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Together, we are $17 trillion of the economy.
Yep.
17
Yep.
trillion. There is no company that can compete with us. None. We just need to come
Yep.
together. And this is why I'm really happy to have you guys on my show. I have one more question for you guys that is a little bit non-related to the business that you do. But it's always a question when I interview people like Emily and myself that are couples, right? Married couples building a business. And I'm gonna go with Ali first. What is it like, and what are some advice that you have for other married couples that are building a business together?
Wow. This is a very, very tough question. And it's, honestly, there are some really tough days. There are some really tough days. And when you just get started, it's definitely a lot of fun. But then when you realize, you want to grow and you want to scale, that's when challenge comes your way. And you have to overcome that as a couple. And we often have different hats, right? It's like our okay, let's put on our marriage hat right now, and then let's put on like our we're leading a company and running this business hat together, and just making sure that you differentiate those because it can really start to slide and get into, a gray area, and you just want to make sure that you're also protecting your marriage and respecting your marriage first and foremost, and then secondly, leaning into when you have to make those tough business decisions, when you have to grind together, when you do finally get to let off the paddle and have fun and enjoy your wins. But you're fully immersed, you're fully immersed 24/7 and just really being mindful that at the end of the day, our marriage comes first and you have to just really lean into the love you have for each other.
Amazing. That's why I let her go first, Kory. What you got?
You've been helping me out, letting her take the hard questions first all
I
this time.
know.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. I think the single most important thing, like obviously it's a massive value to have your life partner and significant other alongside your journey and both people going towards the same mission, right? Like, I mean,
Yes.
and a lot of people don't get to experience that. They're running separate careers. I mean, some of them are just, don't even talk about work, so there's no crossover in their marriage to, what they're doing. But in our situations where we're both driving forward the mission, it's extremely powerful. It's not a 1 plus 1 equals 2, it's a 1 plus 1 equals 10, right? And I think the biggest thing, and Allie, to be transparent, Allie and I are still learning this aspect of it, but to me, I see this as the most important thing is really setting boundaries, because if you don't have those boundaries, it can be the business can envelop into the all of the discussions, right? And become a lot of the conversations. And pretty soon sometimes we catch ourselves like, oh, we've just literally only talked about business for like 2 weeks now. Like, well, let's
Yeah.
talk about something else, right? And so this is something that we're developing ourselves and learning from. But I really think, being you have it's a great strength and synergy, but you have to be intentional about setting boundaries to Allie's point. The marriage comes first. The love has to, you want to focus on that. And so setting intentional boundaries of like, hey, let's set an hour to sit down and have coffee and talk about the business, intentionally only about the business. And then in the evening, it's, let's talk about, let's go on a date, let's do something, but we're not talking about business. So something that I'm trying, I'm taking my own advice here as we've spent 4 years living this life now and learning from really just reflecting on what causes challenges, what doesn't work. And that's the biggest thing for me is you have to be intentional about setting boundaries and focusing on the priority of the marriage as well.
I love that. Great advice. Back to you, Kory. What tell me the role that faith plays in your life, your business, your relationship.
Um, for 10, I would say for at least 10 years, my every single day starts out in prayer. And that's been my daily ritual ever since. I mean, at least for 10 years now. And that really, I think I started that journey when I actually started building the 150 case. And that was a very intense project where we built that tractor in just 18 months, a massive undertaking. And every single morning I started out on my knees asking for God's guidance and the people to come into my life to help, support the projects and so that's every single day I start out in prayer and that's really the foundation of my day and Allie and I end every day in prayer. I mean, when we go to bed, the last thing we do is pray together and pray for each other, pray over each other. And that is, when you go through challenging days and you go through hard times and you go through, circumstances that we do as entrepreneurs, and at the end of the day, it's that connection to God, it's that knowledge and that faith that, this might be bigger than me, but it's not bigger than him. And that, we just have faith. I can end the day, excited about tomorrow because even though I might not be able to handle what has to happen tomorrow, I know that I believe in a God that can. And I've just seen so many times I've handed things over to him and I just literally thought, there is no good way out of this. And I handed it over to him and I've just seen I just saw miracles happen. It's like, how in the world did that person come into my life at that time that helped, that had that connection or that situation or that customer order came through right when we need it. It's just all you just when you're intentional and you start to understand the patterns and now what I love to do is just understand like God's plan. And Allie and I we recap this a lot. We look at how events happen and a lot of times it didn't happen the way that we expected it or planned it to happen. But then we're like, this was unbelievable God's divine plan because had this not happened, we wouldn't have made that connection or this, that led to this opportunity. And it's just like we would never have had the knowledge to be able to plan that out ourselves. And so it's just, I mean, it's a huge for me, as a business leader, it's my foundation and it's what we also focus our business on. And, we're also intentional about hiring fellow believers and Christians and very intentional about that. And, we're also starting we want to support our team members through, in person, having a preacher on site and to be able to help our team members. So this is another initiative that we're getting started with. But yeah, it's extremely important for us and ultimately led us to where we are today, led Allie and I to being together and on this mission.
Amazing. Allie?
I couldn't even add anything if I wanted to. Kory did a great job summarizing it. I mean, without faith, we would be in a very, very bad situation. So
Yeah.
all glory to him, truly. I mean,
Yeah. Yep, I love that. All right, one parting shot. You're talking to a business owner that you have to leave one piece of advice that's gonna change their world. Allie, you go first.
trust God. That was a nice that was
That's a nice little and
bridge right
yeah,
there.
For
I
sure.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Just like you said, there's gonna be really tough days, and as long as you are anchored in faith, you're gonna get through it and ultimately land where you need to be.
Love that. Kory?
I would say trust God and never quit because God will never quit on you, and I think I've been through a lot of challenges in the last 20 years. And I always had the mindset of I knew I was never the smartest person in the room. I dropped out of college. I always knew I was never going to be the smartest person in the room. I would never have potentially the most skills or the most abilities of even my competitors. But I just knew that I was always going to be willing to outwork in any situation, and no matter how big the challenge, I would outwork it until it became good and became an opportunity. And I think that's for me, that's one of the most important things. I mean, as long as you are willing to outwork whatever comes your way and not lay down and quit when it gets tough, there is no end. I mean, there is no end to what you can do.
Love that. Well, thank you both for being here with me and for becoming new friends of Emily and I. And there's so many cool things I know we're going to be doing together, and we'll do many shows in the future. But I'm really grateful that God put us at that table together. You know,
Was
in the middle of a room of people that were probably not of like mind with us, and it was very, very cool. Proud to call you guys my friends, and I'm looking forward to the future. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
to
you.
visit with my people.
Absolutely.
It
It's
was
been a tremendous honor, Jason. Appreciate it, brother.
Awesome. Appreciate you too.